Hi everyone, welcome to this segment of Community Spotlight. I'm Shelby Sutter, Wealth Advisor at Hightower Las Vegas. We created this series to showcase some organizations that are doing very important work in our community. Today we have the privilege of interviewing Miss Caitlin Shea, who is the Vice President of Development at the Discovery Children's Museum here in town. Caitlin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Shelby.
For those of you who don't know Caitlin, she is a theater aficionado. She grew up locally here in town, and she loves philanthropy. So I'm going to start off asking, what brought you to the Discovery Children's Museum? How did you find your home there? Because you were very much at home.
Yes,
you were very much at home.
I'm very settled, yes. You know, for me, I think we're headed into our 35th year this year. And the Discovery Children's Museum, the original location on Las Vegas Boulevard, was the museum of my childhood. So when they opened in 1990, I was a young child, and that was one of the places that I really frequented with my grandfather, who was helping to raise my brother and I while my parents worked. And, you know, the fondness of those memories, knowing, you know, when you're a precocious, very curious child, a place like a museum can really help shape your view of the world. And so when the opportunity became available for me to work at the museum, it really was a full circle moment, because I know what it's like to enjoy the space and place that we create for children, and now to be on the opposite side fundraising for this just important gem in our community. It's just really profound for me, and really a highlight of my professional career.
Amazing, amazing. I did not realize that you grew up going there, but obviously as a local, of course, right?
Yes,
right?
yes.
I love what you do for them. Tell us a little bit about the museum. How big is it? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how big it is, how many exhibits you have, all of that stuff. So tell me about the building itself and what happens in there.
Yeah, so we are very fortunate to be located in downtown Las Vegas in the Symphony Park campus. So any of you that are art lovers, you've been to the Smith Center to see live performance. We are literally next door, right next door to the Smith Center. And so Discovery Children's Museum in its current house is a 58,000 square foot, 3-level facility. There's 26,000 square feet of usable space on site for the guests. And then actually our entire staff is also housed on site. So that's administrative facilities, all of our outward facing staff, our educators, our front of house. And so it is a massive building. We are considered a larger museum across the United States. And annually, this incredible facility sees about 250,000 children and families coming through our doors. And then we serve an additional 20 to 40,000 every year through our outreach initiatives. And so when children come to our building, they can expect to have a day of hands-on learning. Nothing is off limits. We want kids to touch, to play, to get curious, to collaborate with other children that maybe they don't know. And so, you know, really the initiatives in our 9 different exhibit galleries are all STEAM related. So science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And they're all designed to really give children a good look at a variety of different things with the hands-on play, but also to get them critically thinking about what they might want to be when they grow up.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. So you mentioned STEAM.
Yes.
Tell me, how connected is the museum with the Southern Nevada education landscape, and what are you doing to further education in Southern Nevada? We all know, you know, our schools need some help, our population needs some help, so tell me a little bit about how the museum is helping.
Yeah, you know, we, I think, have positioned ourselves, certainly in the last 5 years, as an educational partner and a community resource. So what that really looks like for us is that in addition to partnering with like the Clark County School District with field trips where the kids can actually come into our museum and get to really enjoy the magic of the museum, we also have our outreach program, which is called Discovery on Wheels, and that goes out into the classrooms with a heavy emphasis on Title I schools, so really focusing on those kids that may never have the interaction or opportunity to attend the museum in person. And it's really, you know, we are, I think, aptly positioned to really help continue the dialogue of education outside of the 4 walls of the classroom, right?
Yes.
So we know that children learn best when they're playing and when it's disguised as something fun. And so our hope is that we are always a partner. We are always viewed as a tremendous resource to children and families. And that we really are, I believe, an invaluable asset to the workforce development piece of our community. We are still one of the largest growing metropolitan areas in the United States. Incredible. We have the 5th largest school district here in Southern Nevada. And so when you kind of combine the perfect storm of those two large numbers of who we're serving and who's living here, I think for nonprofits like Discovery Children's Museum, it's really our job to get in front of as many children as possible and really create opportunities through summer camps, field trips, all of the extra activities that we offer throughout the year, and then of course our admission subsidy programs to reach as many children as physically possible.
Amazing, amazing. We love hearing about all of that and how you're taking the museum to children that maybe wouldn't otherwise have a chance to walk through the doors. Love that.
Yes.
So speaking of outreach and how many lives you're touching, right? You need volunteers. How are you reaching and recruiting those volunteers? How are you making them aware of your opportunities? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our volunteer program, I think, is one of my most favorite pieces of our business because it really gives people the opportunity to engage in our mission in a variety of ways, right? So like every nonprofit, we have our signature events that are held both on and off site of the museum. You can volunteer for those. But I think more importantly, getting volunteers into the museum to support, whether it's gallery prep, prepping all of the beautiful supplies that children are going to use and consume throughout the months that they're with us, the actually running an activity station, right? We have a lot of wonderful corporate partners that come in and they are really there to engage with our guests. And it's really special, right? Because sometimes I think as adults, we forget the power of children. The power is they're curious, they're imaginative, they don't see the world through a very jaded lens, right? They're very just kind of taking things in as they come, which I think is so beautiful, by the way. But really engaging those groups to come back with us again and again, to bring their own children to volunteer side by side with them. I think there's something to be said about parents kind of setting that example and showing their children what it means to volunteer. And then the third piece of our volunteer program, which I just think is so special, is our YouthWorks paid internship program. So this program is in its, 31st year this fall. Wow. This has been really kind of a staple, a nationally recognized program that we started when we opened our doors initially at the museum to really address the dropout rate, to get kids engaged and get a little more skin in the game with helping provide this paid job opportunity with the understanding that they're still staying in school, keeping up with their studies. And what this program has done is it's really transformed the way that we're reaching children who maybe have enjoyed the museum through the years, but now they've maybe outgrown the exhibits and the activities that they've come to know and love. And so this now flips it on its head and allows them to be a part of our staff. So they are on the floor engaging with guests, they're running activities, they're coming out to our special events. We just had our Royal Tea, and we had a couple of our YouthWorks interns there, and they are just incredible young people. They're really getting that holistic look at what it means to be a part of the workforce. And so I think between the corporate partners, our partners who are coming and volunteering with the signature events, and then having this other layer, I like to call them the next generation, the next gens that are really learning how to engage in workforce development, but also give back to their community. It's a really beautiful life cycle. And I will tell you, our volunteer program has never been more busy in our history. So if that tells you anything, I guess the importance of volunteerism is pretty high on people's minds.
That's amazing. I didn't realize how many volunteer opportunities that you had.
Yes.
And then I had the privilege of coming in with the United Way, one of their affinity groups, and we put together kits for some sort of exhibit, and it was, you put 4 googly eyes and 8 pipe cleaners and 2 crayons in each of these bags, and you make these little kits, and we do hundreds and hundreds of them. I was really surprised at how good it feels, because you get to go in and you're also creating something.
Yes.
Creating something to leave behind that someone else gets to enjoy and then create further with. And so I know as a creative, I'm sure that probably speaks to your heart. Tell me what else at the museum that you're doing that you're really, really proud of and that really just speaks to, who you are as a person. What, like if you had to pick something to champion, what would it be?
Oh goodness, that's a difficult question, a loaded question, Shelby. But I think, well, I want to acknowledge what you said. I think it's so special, the legacy that volunteerism creates. So you may not know the child who's utilizing these supplies and this beautiful activation that you've created, but you are creating magic for them, and you are creating a learning opportunity. And you know, I think philanthropy right now, especially, there's a lot going on in our world. It's very tumultuous. The environment is a little charged, and you know, for us in this work every day, trying to navigate these challenges, I think that what you said is so poignant to me, because it's important that we remember why we're doing the work and who it matters, and why it matters and who it impacts, rather. Because, you know, if nonprofits went away, if the museum went away tomorrow, these precious opportunities to not only engage with children and families, but with volunteers like yourself would be non-existent. So you asked me one of the programs I'm most proud of. Okay. So I was actually just on a call talking about this today, and you know, the museum is deeply committed to early childhood learning. We know that a child in their first 5 years of life, if they don't have certain skills and abilities, it makes the learning process much more challenging for them. Not impossible, but challenging. And so one of the programs that have been around in our museum for the last 2 years that I just love is our Toddler Tales. So this is totally devoted to our littles, 5 and under. It's every Friday, and families get to come in. And again, family is not for us to decide. It could be grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, the nanny, mom, dad coming in with this child. But they are able to come in for an hour with us, and a story is read. A copy of the book goes home with the child and their family to kind of reinforce that, right?
It's amazing.
And then they get to do an activity. So maybe they were using the googly eyes and the pipe cleaners, right? Or maybe it is more of a musical session where we bring in a musician to play and kind of do songs that are related to the book. But it's this really beautiful synergy of understanding that parents are the earliest teacher of a child, right? Whatever the parental system looks like. And then you have organizations like Discovery that are helping to really teach parents how to engage in play with their child. And I think that for me, I don't have children myself, but I think watching young families, my friends, all of my little babies that are my nieces and nephews, getting to see the engagement when a parent is doing that side by side with their child, there is something profound about that. And you're creating dialogue and an extension of that learning at home. And so if I had to pick something today that I'm incredibly passionate about, it would be Toddler Tales. But I will tell you, there are so many programs and initiatives in this museum that I can't say enough about.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'll pick something out of what you talked about. You said you don't have any children. I also don't have any children.
Yes.
So let's speak to, do you have any adult-only volunteer opportunities?
Yes. So any adults can come in and volunteer, much like through United Way Day of Caring, or if Hightower wanted to come in as a group and do something for a day. We always welcome volunteers of any age. But I would say, you know, for our adults without children, I have a lot of people say, well, I'd love to come see the museum, but I don't have a child myself. Right. You know, we are getting ready to gear up for a really incredible year of adult nights in the museum. So we have a Halloween one coming up in October with Yelp. It's going to be this huge haunted spooky activation for adults only.
How fun.
So we're trying to find ways to engage further, I think, with the idea that adults are lifelong learners too, right? We say in our mission to create a lifelong love of learning. And I was speaking with someone the other day, and if we're not learning, we're dying, right? So we want adults to also find their place here and understand that an organization like Discovery Children's Museum that is a nonprofit, that every dollar that comes through our door, whether you buy a ticket, you buy something in the gift shop, you buy a membership, you come to our special events, is being infused right back into this idea that learning is for everyone. And I think, you know, for our adult groups, our volunteer opportunities are for any age. So you could call our volunteer manager, Brianna, who is amazing, at any given time and say, I want to come in, I want to help. And she will have, like you have witnessed, that laundry list of what we've got going on.
That's so awesome. I felt like you were speaking right to me and telling me what I can do and how I can get involved. I appreciate it so much. Yeah. Well, that's about it for our time today. Yeah. Is there anything else, like a final message you want to leave us with, a call to action?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Or just a final thought.
Yeah.
Give you the floor.
I would just say to everyone that, Discovery Children's Museum is deeply committed to the entire community. We are here to be in service to children, families, and adults as well. But now has never been a more important time to engage and create dialogue and opportunities around education, because we know education is one of those things that you cannot take away from a child. And so if you're looking for a place to invest your time, your talent, or your treasure, we would be deeply honored for your support. And we hope that that over 250,000 children and families a year are coming through our doors. It's a heavy lift, but it's a lift that we're incredibly honored and inspired to carry on behalf of Southern Nevada.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. I appreciate your time coming in and talking with us.
Thank you so much.